Bonfire Banter, we're back. We have some educators out here tonight. I'm very excited for this panel, actually. I love seeing you guys, but I haven't seen Mr. Tony Summers in a long time, and to get you out tonight means a lot to me that thought highly enough of all of us to come out here and shoot the shit for a little while.
Thank you for the invitation.
So, absolutely. So we have Katie Ryan over there.
Hello.
I've known Katie for a very long time.
A very, very long time.
Since kindergarten.
Yeah, preschool, right?
I don't know. I was in Miss Thompson's. I don't think at preschool.
Oh, we didn't go to preschool together. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, you better check that, all right?
Okay. Check my. I'm a librarian. I got to check my facts here.
So yeah, tell us quickly. You're a librarian in New York.
Yeah. So I'm a school librarian, primarily middle school, but I worked 6 years as an elementary school librarian and a middle school librarian at a public school out here in the suburbs in Franklin Park. And then now I'm out in Brooklyn, and I'm the whole librarian for my school out in Brooklyn, but primarily work in the middle school.
Okay. So how is Brooklyn, by the way?
It's great. I mean, I love it.
I feel like that's a pretty happening part of the city.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I don't think anybody realizes how big Brooklyn is until you get there. It's so big. I think like almost all of Chicago could it's comparable to the size of Chicago, just the borough of Brooklyn itself.
Wow. Yeah, see, I don't understand the scale of New York because I've never been.
Well, there's there's the 5. I don't even know what I should know, but there's Manhattan, Staten Island, Brooklyn.
You're not from
the
New
Bronx,
York. You get a pass.
And Queens.
Yeah.
Whose pizza do you have allegiance to?
I was actually telling somebody.
It's an honest question.
I was actually telling someone this the other day that when I moved out there, I was pretty snooty, and I said Chicago pizza is so much better than Brooklyn pizza, and now Brooklyn has completely won me over.
Yeah, it's gotten you.
It's true.
I feel like it depends on where you're going to.
Yeah.
Where are you getting the pizza from?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's still some pizza out here that is. It's different, like thin crust, saucy Chicago style pizza, like not pan or deep dish, but like thin, crispy Chicago pizza. They have it the best out here, but all sorts of other styles. Brooklyn totally takes the cake.
We have 2 Jess Browns out here tonight. So this Jess Brown, all the way on the edge here, is actually Rob's sister. And thank you so much for coming out here tonight as well.
Thank you.
And tell us a little bit about your education background here.
I am a special education teacher.
Okay.
I work at an alternative high school for students with different types of behavioral disabilities, emotional disabilities, things of that nature.
So the whole school is just kids with BD and some of these
Yes, we're an alternative high school.
Okay, cool.
So
that's probably got its own challenges day to day.
I love it, and there's nothing I would rather do than be with my kids in my school. I feel like I have the personality to work with my kids, and I wasn't, perfect when I was growing up, and I had some issues, and I thought I wanted to be the teacher that I would have wanted when I was in high school. So that's why I started doing what I do.
And there's so many kids that do need that one person that they connect with that makes them feel like they're not crazy or abnormal or anything else. It's feeling comfortable and feeling like this person cares about me is when you get some of these kids to open up.
And to be very honest with you, that's the best part of that is the number one part of my job. I'm not concerned about teaching. I mean, I am concerned about teaching U.S. history or government or whatever, but I'm much more concerned about having a conversation about something that's going on with a kid at home or an issue that they're having. Something that's going to be important to them. So,
nice jeans, by the way.
Oh, hey, thanks.
Why is this like some online?
This is the first pair of jeans in quite a while that have been put on since I've been in sweatpants for a year. So we got jeans for the first time.
An anti-denim girl.
Big deal.
Small victories.
That's just usually done from the waist up.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly correct.
That's awesome. I feel like just hearing all those jokes back in the day about newscasters and stuff not wearing pants, and now it's like so many teachers have this option now. It's got to be careful about not having to get up too quick.
So how long did it take you to find them?
I was a little worried they weren't going to fit. Let's be real. I was a little nervous putting these jeans on today, but
you have to have a little stretch to them.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good. That's why I buy the stretchy ones. I fluctuate too much.
There you go.
Too much fluctuation going on. And then this Jess Brown, that you're a little more familiar with, is our Bonfire Banter family here. Tell us a little background about what you're doing these days in education.
Sure. Can you hear me? I'm good? Okay. I teach 5th grade. I have for 9 years, and I'm a public education school teacher. I do wear pants when I teach, but
Unfortunately.
but I do teach virtually this year. We've been virtual the whole year. I actually, at the beginning of the year, chose to teach in a virtual academy that my district provided as an alternative for our students.
Okay.
So that's what I have been up to this year. It's been quite a different year.
I was just going to say, so how, good, better, or good, worse, and different, where are you at with doing the learning on e-learning versus your in-person that is your typical go-to? How is that feeling as far as maybe kid interaction as well as your comfortability?
Yeah. I personally have a master's in educational technology, so I felt like I had a lot of...
Like a leg up on the competition a little bit there?
Maybe not even a leg up, but I just felt like I knew about some programs and some ways to structure an online class that made me be able to be successful in this transition to e-learning. I did it in the spring when the schools shut down, and they ended up shut down for the rest of the year. We took a really long spring break, and then we didn't go back.
Yeah.
I actually have enjoyed being virtual. There are parts of the in-person classroom that I miss, but I have seen a group of kids become closer than I've ever seen a group of kids get, because virtual has sort of leveled the social playing field a little bit. So that has been a really interesting thing to see. And then I think kind of the conclusion I've come to with one being better than the other, there is not one better environment that meets every need. Some kids really are doing better virtually.
Okay.
And a lot of kids do better in an in-person environment. I think the thing that a school needs to make sure that they're providing, and teachers need to make sure they're providing first and foremost, is a means to feel connected.
Yeah.
If kids don't feel connected to their school, whether it's virtual or in person, you don't have the engagement, you don't have the buy-in. And then that's, I think, when you start to have, when you have disengagement is when you have kids who are not reaching their full potential.
Yeah.
So I think if one environment over the other really isn't the case, it's just how connected does that child feel to that teacher and to that school.
Yeah. And kind of to that too then, Katie, so you started out this year fully e-learning?
Yeah, so we were...
And then you did a transition recently.
So we...
Not that recently, I guess, but...
we've been back in person since November with one virtual day, and then kids can still opt to be virtual.
Okay.
So, and then last year, obviously, in March, when everything shut down, we were virtual. And so we were virtual up until about early November, and then we transitioned to our high flex learning is what we call it.
High flex,
Yeah.
just because there's only one virtual day. Is that why it's a different?
Yeah,
that's
and
not
also
a hybrid.
just I think it's called hybrid too because some of their classes are still virtual even though we're in person.
Mm-hmm.
Is how we've done it so that it's safe because of the restrictions with space and just like for you can only have so many kids be exposed to each other and just all those kind of things. We still have more than half of their classes are still virtually taught, even though they're in person physically with each other in the building. Their
so
teacher
the teachers,
will.
Are they in the building still?
Yeah, we're all there.
Okay.
But the teacher's teaching two classes of two different kids in two different rooms. So sometimes they get their teacher in the room with them, and then most of the time their teacher's on a screen, even though we're in person.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's definitely something new. I didn't even realize that was an option.
So that's just a different model because it's because I teach middle school, so you're used to having different teachers teach all your classes. So, but there's, we don't want kids exposed to more than a certain number of adults. So, and each adult's only exposed to a certain amount of kids, all for contact tracing and safety and things like that. So so even though we're in person, we're still sort of learning remotely is kind of what we're doing.
Which is an interesting way. Like I said, I didn't even realize that was a way anyone's doing it.
Yeah, which is, I thought was so interesting was like thinking about with fifth grade, like the buy-in of the connectedness. Like I wonder as kids get older, is the buy-in and the ability to connect kids, does that diminish a little bit as kids get older? I'm curious how it is in high school with kids virtual. I'm curious. I want to know.
I have some kids that are doing fantastic. You have to remember, I have a lot of kids with different things going on. So a lot of my kids are school avoidant or have anxiety. And what Jessica said was spot on. Those kids are able to have conversations that they would never speak up in a classroom ever in their high school careers. Now, they're behind a screen, which can be good or bad, obviously, but they're able to speak up during class and they're able to be more involved. I have kids who never passed classes who have straight A's right now.
Really?
So it has
Is
really...
it just the structure, you think? Like that they're in front of the same thing every day and it's like a...
I think a lot of it too is there's not as much high school level. This may be different, like you said for elementary, but high school level, there's not as much distraction.
Yeah.
So they don't have other kids in the room that are texting them or messing around or throwing things or talking or doing this or doing that.
Yeah.
They're at home, and if they're going to log in, they're going to pay attention when they log in. So I've seen, not all kids, but I've seen a lot of success with the virtual.
And then I'm curious, kind of on your perspective on this, Tony, is you've been an educator in the past, took a little break. You said off screen that you're going to be going back to teaching here soon.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah. But as a parent now, which you've educated in a pre-COVID world, and now you're a parent of 2 kids, first off, are they in school? Are they hybrid, or what's going on with them?
Yes, they're well, my son, he has special needs, so he was able to go back full-time, modified structures.
Okay.
So looking at the transition from, well, they say vertical articulation from elementary level to middle school to high school, you think about structures, how things are set up for each level.
Yeah.
For him, he has a one-on-one tutor.
Okay.
So he's in a great district where he's able to be in a room by himself with his one-on-one aid.
Nice.
And then also have opportunity to connect with his classmates.
Okay.
Sounds
like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And
So the flexibility of that, because at an early age, he's had a solid foundation and wanted to be in school.
Okay.
And so now it's one of those things where he's in second grade, so his first year probably flew by, but now second grade, maybe this identifies a new norm for him for certain things, at a certain level that at an early age, they're so adaptable to things.
Yeah.
Because looking at a high school, that's Jessica, they have environmental constructs that athletes, artists, just kids hang out. They're bonded to certain things that they have to connect to and anchor to, but at the early age, it's so fluid. So
they don't know what's normal or not.
Yeah.
Like my daughter with the mask thing, we asked her before she went to kindergarten this year, like, you got to wear a mask the whole time if you want to go in person. She's like, no, I don't want to go then, blah, blah, blah. And then we kind of asked her a couple more times and she came around to the idea, and now she's in there, doesn't care. She doesn't even notice that it's on. She's in the car after I pick her up. She's like, oh, I still got my mask on. I'm like, the kids are a lot more resilient with change and stuff like that, to be like, okay, this is what we do now. We wear masks. And
and it's the whole big P word now, pivot.
Yeah.
Kids are able to pivot. I think that's an overused term, but it's one that's everybody connecting to. So kids know how to pivot.
Yeah.
Teachers, parents.
Yep. And you have to do something. I mean, we've done the same thing out here with this production. Is that like we get the different weather coming through here and stuff like that? It's like, okay, we need a canopy. We got to change this up. We've had topics that fall apart at the last second, and we turn to pivot to a different topic. So
that's the organic nature of it, man. I like it.
Yeah,
The presentation.
As far as the older son, then, is he in person, hybrid? How is that going?
Yes, he's in person.
Okay.
Again, he has special accommodations because he's what do you call it? Ambulatory. He's in a wheelchair.
Okay.
So they provided busing for him.
Okay.
And access to earlier where he was in a one-on-one aid. Yeah. But it's so accommodating for him because he has a compromised immune system, and they were on top of it.
Yeah.
I commend this district. A lot of schools that now you see the work behind the scenes that you don't see that goes into them. Like, wow, teachers really do earn how we're compensated.
Right now, especially, I think that's more true than ever. The job having to go in there and, again, pivot and change the whole way everything's typically done. Yeah. I mean, it's like you're learning on the fly. There's no books written like, this is what you do in a pandemic. You just got to switch it up, and now you're never going in school. Like, how the hell does that all change that fast? I'd like to make a little lighter note here and maybe ask you guys a little bit, because I've heard some funny stories from parents. I go in houses for a living. I'm seeing the e-learning going on while I'm trying to give a bid for stuff. But I'll start with you, Katie, maybe first on this one. What's something interesting you've seen that's happened, because maybe you had the shortest time with the e-learning, but something interesting you saw happen at someone's house while they're trying to be on? And
I mean, we've got some pets going on.
Yeah,
we've
okay.
actually done a couple things with pets, like had pet showcases and things like that. But, you know, all of a sudden a kid has a gerbil crawling on them during a meeting, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, nothing too like, you know,
no, like grandma's walking by with no clothes on in the background or something.
No. I'll have like
I was on TikTok or something. It was totally what happened.
But I'll have a kid get up and start doing a TikTok dance in the middle of class, and it's kind of just like, what are you doing?
What can you do? Hey, stop doing that, or else I'm gonna keep yelling at you.
You know,
through the screen.
Kids just get up and are dancing, that kind of thing. You know, I'm in this weird situation where I've been teaching puberty. I'm a librarian, but I've been teaching puberty.
Yeah, good luck.
So once in a while you'll see a parent like pop in the screen, like looking shocked.
What is the content today?
Yeah, I mean, I think one time we had like a diagram up of a body part, and I just saw a mom like zooming into like her face, like looking in this camera. So I think that's the funniest, is teaching puberty and seeing guests pop up and be like, what the hell's going on right now? Like, so I guess that's the funniest thing that's happened.
That's a pretty good one, actually. Teaching puberty these kids over on some e-learning.
I mean, not all, you know, because we still have one day where we're home.
Like, you're saying
so Wednesdays we're home. So that, and then sometimes we'll just be remote, because we'll be remote for a break, after a long break.
Gotcha.
So everybody can quarantine after they've traveled. You know, and then kids are home all the time just because they opt to, or they might need to quarantine or something like that. So we always have some kids at home. But yeah, just definitely the parents popping in and like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, that is a pretty solid one. So, Jess, what would you say? Have you seen anything? You've been doing it for a little while now.
I know, and I was just going to say,
good?
speaking to what she was saying, like, it allows you to be able to be closer to kids, I think, which sounds crazy, because everybody's like, you can't build relationships with kids when they're not in school. How is that possible, right? It's very possible, because I can say to my kids, hey, let me see your dog.
Yeah.
Hey, let me meet your sister who's home with you homeschooling, who's only in second grade and you're a high schooler. Hey, here's my dogs. They love my dogs. That's like one big thing that we get to, you know, show me the dogs, and they see, I have a big, huge pit bull dog, so all the kids love them and whatever. But like, as much as people think it's a deterrent, I think that being virtual gives you an opportunity to see things and interact with your kids that you wouldn't normally have.
And that's teachers a little bit too.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm doing a remodel on my house. My kids ask me, okay, what's new? Is the shower in? Are the walls up? Like, they see that.
They see the progress,
you know,
and stuff.
But it gives them, it builds their relationship, which I think is more important than any other part of teaching.
I actually never heard this angle, and I like that. Makes a lot of sense.
We had a baking club that we started after when COVID hit, and at 5:00 we would all get on, like anyone who wanted to, we'd get on Zoom and we'd all be in our kitchens just baking together.
Yes.
And that was something, you know, we could never all bake together at work like that at school. And it was just something, and
different,
we built really
cool.
strong relationships with those kids who did that. So that's an example.
Kind of the same thing. Jess, you have any funny ones on camera jumping in, or?
Trying to think. I mean, like you said, Katie, lots with the pets. I mean, they're 10 and 11, so they're all about that. I just want to say I 100% agree with what you're saying. In terms of making connections, it is way easier in the virtual world. There is no time for that in the classroom, and there is so much rigidity because of the schedule that you have to follow, because your schedule is based on what other teachers do and what other kids need and who's available when. So I have really just enjoyed that creative, like, control of, this is how the day is going to run because this is the best thing for my kids.
Yeah.
And here's this built-in connection time where we're going to get to know one another better, and here's how we're going to do it. As far as things coming on the screen that have been kind of funny, my kids are actually like pretty serious about school. I haven't seen like, it was funny. They like, it took them like weeks to bring their pets out. Yeah. Because I think a lot of them in the spring were told that they couldn't have pets on or something. Yeah. And so it like really took them time. And finally one was like, my cat's right here. Can I please show him to you? I've been waiting for weeks.
I've been holding him here, hoping someone would ask.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, here's my dog. And so it was, I think that's kind of just been kind of a funny thing. It really depends on your class, like kind of how comfortable they are with stuff. And like, as far as parents, like I hear all kinds of stuff about, my, parents are peering over here or whatever. I never see that. We have a lot of parent support, but I've had parents that have just been so respectful, understanding these are school hours.
That's good.
They're at school, I've got to back off kind of thing. I know that hasn't been the case everywhere, but that's kind of how it's been for us, at least.
I'm very interested in the fact that that some of these things that was like everyone's first negative thing to say about e-learning is like, you're not going to be like make a connection. How can you do this over the screen? But to hear stuff like that, it makes complete sense that, again, you're letting them into your life a little bit and being able to kind of see that you're a real person and you're not just, I don't sleep at the school and wake up and teach you every day. I actually go home and I'm a normal person.
Think about how you felt about your teachers when you were a kid. If you'd see your teacher at like the grocery store or something, it was like, oh my gosh, like seeing a rock star, like it was such a crazy
you grocery
thing.
shop too?
Yes.
Weird. Yeah.
And really, to build a relationship with your kids, they need to know you. And it does lend to it. We do it in the classroom too, but the foundation of education is having relationships with kids, period. Yeah. If you don't have relationships with kids, you're never going to teach them a thing.
Yeah. And that was kind of, like you said, the basis of how you got started in education was, you felt like maybe you weren't, the perfect student or had some troubles, and being able to have those connections is pretty much why you got going in it.
Well, I didn't have a lot of connections with teachers, and I thought to myself, I want to be that person for kids to feel comfortable with and be able to go to, and not worry necessarily about, if I have the wrong answer, this teacher's going to kind of like make me feel dumb or something like that. And, just be somebody there, like, the education is not necessarily, the book stuff is not necessarily the most important thing. Yeah. And the kids that I work with need a lot more support. And I wanted to be the person to be able to do that for them. So,
weren't you involved with administration for a little while too?
Yes, I did a lot of administration type of stuff in the building that I was in. Because we were in a small building, I was able to also fulfill that role as well, which was also nice because you kind of get both perspectives. And the kids, you've already built that respect with the kids in the relationship. So when they're now in trouble and they have to come talk to somebody, if you have that relationship, it's a lot easier to have that conversation than if you don't. So.
Yeah. Which one do you prefer doing?
As long as I'm working with kids, to me, I'll do anything. Yeah. I would never want to be in a high enough level of administration that I didn't have interaction with kids.
Like a superintendent or something.
Working at the district office level, I would never do that. Yeah. Principals even, it's a lot harder for them to have meaningful relationships with a lot of kids just because they're so busy and they don't have the time to get to everybody. But, in a smaller building, principals do get to know the kids. Yeah. So,
do you have a favorite teacher, though, when you were growing up?
I had a counselor named Chris Ruffalo. He was at York High School. All you York High School people, I don't know if anybody knows Chris Ruffalo. And he was really, if it was not for him, I never would have graduated high school.
Really?
100%.
Well, shout out Mr. Ruffalo.
Mr. Ruffalo. He knew that I had some stuff going on, and he really helped me out. So
he got you through, and now you're an educator as well.
That's right. And he actually works in the same school district that I work in now at one of the home schools. It's kind of like Yeah, he actually sends kids my way. If they're struggling at his big home school, he'll recommend them to come to our school and be with me.
That's cool,
it's kind of a, full circle kind of thing. So.
That's awesome. And then, Tony, you were saying that you got into some administration aspect of stuff too before. What was that?
Yes, dean.
Okay.
Yeah, and
at obviously high schools are the only ones that got deans, right? Yeah.
And it's one of those things you look at the nature of that position.
Yeah.
For the nature of the position and the expectations for that position.
Yeah.
So I understand there are rules, and
I like you're leading into it like this. Yeah.
But when it comes down to punitive disciplinary actions, I'm like, no, he's just been a knucklehead today.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
He need a detention or whatever, make him go apologize to the teacher. Make him go. Yeah. In terms of rectifying his issues with the student on their own, and see if they go from there.
Yeah.
But then sometimes when, district expectations about certain things go a certain way, you figure out, okay, this is not a comprehensive thing for education overall. It's
Yeah.
just a microcosm of this particular district.
Yeah.
And so, like, the fits may work, probably not for me at this place. So
Gotcha.
you move on.
Yeah.
You know?
Was that the last job you were doing though before you took the break?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So now when you're going back though, you want to be educator again, or like administration, or what do you think?
It's all about the district and the fit there. You know,
Okay, yeah.
the expectations for the position. You have to realize it's a position like any other position. You got to be. You have to have some clarity of like what's expected of you.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
what do you want from this position?
That makes it a
you
little
know?
easier. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because I've turned a suburbanite now. I'm a CPS kid. I love
yeah.
being a CPS kid.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I think that's my foundation. But looking at the expectations now,
Getting a little flaky.
to be short about it, either one, as long as, again, like Jessica said, they said, it's about relationships with the kids, your connection with them.
Yeah.
You know,
No, absolutely. I actually have a funny story back when I pulled this. It was like the first time I think I ever pulled this one. And then I ended up pulling on a couple people in college. But you were like so nice. I was like trying to get this big assignment in. It was like a big project at the end of the year. And I was like working on it all night and I like fell asleep, didn't finish it. And then I sent myself like an empty email with no attachment, like a blank attachment on it on purpose so that I could show you in class that like, oh, I sent it. And I would click on it. I'm like, I can't open it. I don't know where it's at. It's like at home. I don't know. I was working on it last night. And it was true that I was busting my ass trying to get it done. But I bought myself that extra day with like the setting the blank attachment thing. And it was like, had nothing on it. But you were always the nicest about like, giving people time and like being stern when you had to be, but also being like, you know, yeah, you felt like you were someone that you could talk to, or that I trusted to like come to you with anything going on.
you asked Jessica about big influential teachers. Like I went up in the CPS kids where my freshman class was over 1,000 kids.
Yeah.
So it's like a factory. But when I came out to York in the suburbs, two teachers at York High School was really helping me. Better for worse, I hope I didn't tarnish their name. Mr. Sibley.
I love Mr.
Mark
Sibley.
Sibley.
Yeah.
He helped me out a lot, and what was this? He died. He was an English teacher.
I know exactly who he's talking about.
I can't think of his name. But anyway, they told me it's not about what you teach them, it's how you treat them. That's what they're going to remember. And Mr. Lombardo.
Okay.
Jerry Lombardo.
I'm gonna have him.
Yeah, he was
Nice guy.
He had a like Italian beard. He was like had the big arm, and the big thick eyebrows. And he gave me a look like, Tony, it's not what you teach. They're gonna remember you how you treat them as people.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I was like, is that a man? Whatever.
Is that a proverb, or you just come up with that, or?
But no, just the way he told it to me, and Mr. Sibley, those two guys, they were like, you know, laid the foundation for me again as being a teacher. And with teaching, you think about they didn't necessarily talk about it, but a lot of times social economics plays a big into with teaching, with the whole virtual thing.
Yeah.
And some kids don't necessarily have internet or the ability to use them. And so they have other things that even bigger issues. So I didn't know, Justin, maybe you've had other things that you're working on, family issues, like, you know, like whatever, you know, that's not how the impression that you gave me as a student always had those issues. So I'm like, okay, it happens. You know? So.
And you were, like I said, there's definitely a good like memory of you. It's why when I reached out and you were like, you know, willing to come out here, I was pretty pumped about it. You definitely were one of my favorites over there.
Thank you.
I only had you for one class, and there was a couple others in there, and Sibley being one of them, actually. Very like, just you could tell that he again cared about the kids that were in his class and was taking his time to explain stuff to people. He'd take people aside and have like, you know, heart to hearts with kids. And if he saw someone was having a bad day, he'd always go out of his way to like make sure he talked to you at the end of the class. Or, but yeah, those things are big.
Old school,
Definitely is one of those things you remember the most. I'm gonna start passing this over, so be careful. No guard on it. Don't cut yourself.
I won't cut myself.
Don't cut me. I have no goddamn shoes on. So that is one thing I didn't tell you guys about is I don't wear shoes around the fire on the show here.
I noticed that about 10 minutes in, and it kind of was a little weird for a second there, but I figured
You'll
we would
get
just
used to
not
it.
talk about
Yeah, don't
it.
worry about it.
Yeah.
I got decent looking feet. They're not great. They're not terrible. But I'm grounding. I'm getting free energy that you guys are passing up on right now. So, that's on you guys.
But I got a thing I remember about you, Justin.
Yeah, what is that?
Being a football player.
Yeah.
On the football team, number 3-4.
Yeah.
And I would make fun about your brother's like, I can handle Joe.
Yeah.
I can handle Joe.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, Justin, a person, if you needed 3 yards, he gets you 3. And Justin, if you needed 5 yards, he gets you 3.
He gets you 3. It was a cloud of dust. It was like some old school. I don't know why I'm doing with this. But here, let's pass this over to Katie first, and then
of course.
Tony, get it on your way back.
I will.
Terrible.
Here,
Ladies
this is the marker over there. But what did you play position-wise over at Elmhurst College?
Strong safety.
Little safety.
May not look like it now, but I was a little bit bigger.
Got a pretty big frame still.
I was a bigger than.
Yeah, well, everyone was in college a little bit. Like,
Did you get your teaching degree from Elmhurst College?
Oh yeah.
I did as well.
Yeah.
So did I.
Oh, wow.
I only went there for a year, and then I finished up at Concordia.
We all went to Elmhurst
But
College.
we actually
Oh,
all
yeah.
went there at one point in time. Oh, here,
That's
yeah, you still
crazy.
going.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
It's funny.
That is kind of
I'm
funny.
a Blue Jay. Oh yes, I'm a Blue Jay.
That is, I didn't realize that when we all
didn't
sat
either.
down here. Yeah, because I do have a teaching degree. I just never ended up really using it.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, secondary PE. So I graduated at Concordia, and it was just I think I got into it thinking I really wanted to be a high school football coach, and then by the time I got through the whole degree and I went to go student teach my last semester right before you graduate, I did it. I did the job, and I was like, this sucks. I don't like this at all. Because I was just trying to get through my day.
Yeah, it's
I was trying to get through my day just to get to the coaching aspect of it, which was like not a good way of doing it. Like to get that job just so I could be a coach, which is only a fraction of the time spent at the school, is probably not the right plan, you know?
I had a terrible student teaching experience.
Really?
Yeah, I had 3 preps. I had to teach psychology. I had 1 undergraduate
Really?
class in psychology. I had to teach government and world history, all with 3 different cooperating teachers.
Oh, wow.
And they probably just pieced out like here.
Yeah, one woman was part-time. She left after 3rd period. One had 4 AP classes and 1 intro class, and I taught her 1 intro while she was busy with AP classes. And then one taught German, but there weren't enough German classes, so he also had history. So all 3 of them were not like engaged at all in the classes that they had given me, or were very supportive. And I was also teaching psychology, which I had 1 undergraduate class in, and no.
Just throw you out there to the
And
wolves.
it was-
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
And it was, and student teaching is hard no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, you're almost this, and it was high school, and you're almost the same age as the
Yeah.
kids, especially government. I was like a couple years older than the kids. And, I mean, it was horrible. I would like fantasize about getting like in a bad car accident on the way to work.
Oh my goodness.
Getting in a bad car accident.
So I wouldn't have to go in. But I got through it. I knew I wanted to be a librarian, but to be a librarian, you have to have a master's.
Yeah.
But I also knew I wanted to be a teacher, and it was easier to get your certification if you already were certified. And I thought, it can't hurt to have all that extra teaching experience.
Yeah.
So I knew it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, but I still like majored in it.
Yeah.
And then student teaching was just, and there were 2 other student teachers in my department too, which is not normal.
Sounds like a mess.
Well, the next time you need an excuse, just ask Justin for one.
Yeah.
It seems like you got
Yeah, no, I got a ton.
I
Shit.
So it was not a great situation. But anyway, that's my student teaching horror story. I got through it though. And I went.
Apparently, yeah, it worked
was
out for you in
bad.
the long run. Yeah.
I hope just out of this pandemic, when things get to the new normal, whatever comes out,
Yeah.
that parents have a little bit more understanding and grace about what we do as teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of advocating for your kids, in terms of either being right or wrong in certain things, understanding like it's the nature of the job. It's, we sacrifice our time with our families to be with them. Students spend more time with us
They do with their family.
than families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you bring that up because at the beginning of the pandemic, everybody was teachers are the greatest thing in the world
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
love teachers
Yeah.
and they should be paid millions of dollars and they're wonderful. And then when this year came and the powers that be decided that we weren't going back, it was teachers should not be getting paid and they shouldn't be
Hit
getting
the
paid to
brakes.
stay home. And if they're earning a paycheck, they need to be at school with my
Yeah.
kid. And,
It
the
flip-flopped fast.
turn on
Yeah.
teachers
Yeah, it
that
was-
happened
it was
this year
there for a while.
was drastic. I mean, we all have to admit that
Yes.
everybody was
Crazy.
like down on teachers. And still now, like a lot of the schools that still aren't back 100%. I mean, I listen to these board meetings
Yeah.
and these parents parents are
You get
just
those parents with like
dragging
4
the
kids, though, and they're like, they gotta go back. I need them back now. So like breaking down. Like I get it though. I mean, if you are 2 parents that both work, how is that possible? Someone's got to change. Yeah. Someone's got to be home with the Johnny in 3rd grade. Mom and dad both working. How do you do that now? It's
a lot of that's from the state though. Like we didn't plan to be online with kids.
No, yeah.
6.5.
Blame you guys.
We
It's
didn't
your
plan
fault.
to be online with kids 6.5 hours live. We don't think that just lecturing to kids is the best way of doing things. We've found our groove, I think, with what works with our own classes. But I've got a couple of things that I want to say. Virtual teaching is a harder job than in person. Maybe not this year, but overall, when you're doing an online class, there is a ton of prep work that goes into that. And kids have to be able to navigate it independently. So you have to be so careful with the way you word directions, making sure that links work. You need to set things up ahead of time, and you got to have a plan. We had no time to plan anything, folks, and we still don't. And the other part of it is, too, that...
Thank you, Sarah.
When we're talking about education, the way it has been, we have been trying to make changes for a long time, and we've been able to make a little bit of progress. People want to return back to normal. Normal wasn't working for a majority of those kids, whether they were special needs, whether they had social emotional difficulties, whether they were the brightest stars in the class. There were so many needs that were not being met with the system that we had. And we're kind of boxed into working with that a little bit. But we had a real opportunity during this pandemic to create lasting change and really try out some cool things with kids. And that's been my favorite part of it. And I just hope that after we do go back to normal, that we don't lose some of that stuff that we've learned. Yeah. Parents that are pushing for their kids to go back into school, man, I get it. I had to do virtual learning with my child who has special needs, is developmentally delayed, and absolutely could not do a single thing independently for 6.5 hours live on a 1st grade meet. I don't think that's the best way of doing it either, and it cut into my job incredibly. But your kids are going in person, and at least initially, a lot of them were just basically doing online learning in the classroom. I really think that maybe that's not well understood by a lot of people. And we know that there's a lot of things going on in education right now that are great, but there's better ways of meeting kids' needs. And I just hope so much that we go on from this pandemic with those lessons and work to try to make better situations for parents and for kids, in which we can create those connections and keep doing the great work that we've started doing during this pandemic.
I feel like you're definitely going to be taking pieces from it. Like, even if you're fully in school, being able to, like, every teacher now knows how to use these different platforms and different technology and stuff like that. I mean, teachers are definitely better off for it now, knowing that if something else happens like this, you could switch back over and you go, okay, I've done this before. And you're going to obviously learn every day doing it. But yeah, that's something interesting to see of, like, what parts of it do you keep and what parts go back to normal, So
that's a good question. So, question for everyone: do you see things going back to the same, or do you see this opportunity to reset the system on certain things, locally or whatever, funding, how it's funded, how classes are being taught for students? If I ever hit the lottery, I'm gonna go back in and teach to get a doctorate degree. So why would I do that? Because I see some things that may need to be changed. Some things, incremental changes, and some fundamental changes that need to be changed to our system. So you look at, for freshmen, school time and school day, like starting school at 7:30. Yeah. And 3:30,
a little,
maybe seniors may have some autonomy to, I don't have to go to school, I can go to class, give them more responsibility, because, again, eventually they're going to be on their own for work. Value placed on homework, certain things, like giving more responsibility, in charge of their own education about certain things. So are things going to go back to business as usual, or do we see this as an opportunity to get some real fundamental change on the clock?
What are you seeing within your own schools, though, Katie? I mean, do you see, now that you guys have gone back, are you doing that 1 day a week still? Do you think next year or beyond you're going to keep doing stuff like that?
No idea. I think I personally know being vaccinated, I'm very comfortable with going more back to normal because that's how I feel. But there's no roadmap right now. I have no idea. And it's, we're not a big school, so it's, we didn't really even know what our plan was till like day of, like really close to beginning this year. And it's changed several times. So, I mean, I can say I'm more comfortable going back to normal because of being vaccinated, but I think we will still have kids who are going to opt to be remote next year for sure, just because every family has different needs. So, I mean, I think we can still definitely expect that some kids will still be learning remotely, no matter what the situation is. That's definitely going to happen, I think. But I can't say, I'm hoping that it's more towards what we've had in the past, at least where teachers can be moving to different groups of kids. Yeah. As a middle school would be normally. I don't know.
I think that's a good thing when you get a little older. It's like one of those cool things as like a middle schooler, like, oh, I get a different teacher every day. Or every period now. Yeah. And you feel like you're getting a little older now and you're kind of like the high school kids because you're getting to see those faces and change and go in the hallways and have the passing periods and stuff. So, I can see that there's benefits in that. I feel like just with kids and they feel a little bit more,
and as a role as the librarian, I used to be able to interact with every kid in the middle school. I saw them all, which is what I loved about my job, is that I'm, You're
with a select group right now.
I'm with just one group right now. And my job has always been that when I taught at the public school, I saw every single kid in an elementary school and the middle school every week. Yeah. Every kid in the school I had time with. And I loved that. And that's the part of my role that I think is the most special. And so getting, and I have been able to interact a little bit with some kids on Zoom, but not even, the 7th and 8th graders I don't see anymore, which is like crazy because I was so used to having them come in the library all the time. And like the library is such a community hub where kids can come in and out. We haven't been circulating books. So my role has been completely different this year. So I hope we go more back to normal. And I will say I'm personally more comfortable with it being vaccinated.
Yeah. And it seems like you maybe haven't had as much of an experience that they had with like the e-learning as far as like them seeing a lot more gains or maybe seeing that kids are getting more comfortable, whereas you feeling like you're losing some of that because...
Yeah, well, I've definitely lost connections with lots of kids this year.
Just because, again, you're given a class now, whereas you were a librarian for the entire school.
Yes, yeah. And, I still teach 5th and 6th grade classes, so I still see those kids but once a week, whereas I saw them way more. I saw, them twice a week on my own, and now I'm sharing classes, so it's just different. But so I've lost a lot of connection with kids.
Yeah. See, that's why I thought it was interesting to have her on because she's, from New York or that's teaching out in New York, and things are definitely different in every state. Mm-hmm. And kind of hear what, how much different it is out here now is actually kind of funny to me because both states turn blue. Both states are seemingly like, biggest cities in the country.
School,
like you think they're doing a lot of very similar things.
So what's your thoughts on that? Should it be more, should states have their own autonomy? I know it's like the 10th Amendment that give individual states over their education, but do you think there need to be more of a uniform thing nationally about education?
Me personally, I feel like it should differ a little bit, the curriculum based on where you live. Okay. Just because there are differences. I mean, if you're living in a place out in Nebraska where the majority of these people, when they get out of high school, are going to be in agriculture, then they should probably learn a little bit more geared that way. If you're in the inner city, you should probably learn more about urban jobs that are going to be given out, or getting a job in the city is going to be different than getting a job out in Nebraska. Okay. So I feel like getting people ready for real life is the goal of high school or any school, is just getting these kids ready. The content to me doesn't really matter because I want them to get good discipline and like time management skills and stuff like that.
There you go, skills. That's why I said skills. Yeah,
and working with people and it's not about teamwork. It's not necessarily turning in your homework on time. It's that you were given a task and that task was given to, a time frame, and you completed that task. It doesn't matter.
There's deadlines in every job, no matter what you go into.
And this is what I try to impart upon my kids. You're going to have to use all of these specific things. Does it matter if you got every question right on a history test? No. But you had to sit down and you had to take that test, and you had to show up to school that day to be in your seat to do that test.
And the other part of it that I really like about school again is that feeling when I'm having to go in there and I don't have my project done, and now you're beating yourself up. You got all this anxiety, like, I don't want to feel like that again. I know how not to do that is I'll just take more time, and instead of the last night, now I'm going to do it 2 nights before it's due, because I don't want to feel that feeling, that awkwardness, that heartache that I'm going in there to go give bad news to a teacher I like, or, so.
And I think too, kind of down the road you were both going down, I think there's a lot of emphasis, and again, I'm high school, so this is coming from a high school perspective, but there's a lot of emphasis and only emphasis on kids going to college. Okay. And we're preparing these kids to go to college, right? That's really important to get these kids ready for college. You know what? There's a lot of kids who don't go to college.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of kids who are very, very, very successful with no college. So I do think in our public education system, there should be more training. And I know some high schools offer it where you can go to like a TCD or something like that. But I think it's more important to have classes that are geared towards going into trades, plumbing and electrical and things like that. Get them into the unions, get them out into schools and prepare them for that.
Yeah.
As for the kids who don't, obviously there's kids who are going to go to college, but I think that that's lacking in our high school system now.
Absolutely. Rob, our director over in the tent, is saying that we got a question from a viewer. Let's see what we got, Rob. Let us know what's going on.
Yeah, I actually didn't mean to cut that off, too, because that was good what she was talking about there. But we got Andrew McGee. He's been watching. He's been enjoying this. He's
talk a little louder for us. You can barely hear you over here, Rob.
He's a fellow teacher. Yeah, I forget about that.
Andrew McGee.
Yeah, Andrew McGee. So he's got a question. Do you think the powers that be in Illinois made the right call?
Okay, and maybe start with the more Illinois-based teachers on this one. But as far as the right call on...
Right call on what?
Did they make the right call on in terms of how long we've been e-learning, basically? Or going back recently, I guess?
I'm assuming, because I don't know exactly what his question is, but I assume it means with the shutdown, how long it's been going on, the shutdown. Okay. I think he's talking more about the COVID stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know, as far as let's just go with Illinois here for a second. They shut us down mid-March. Obviously, nothing happened past that until the new school year, going back and now seeing it open back up. Do you think they're making the right call on opening these things back up and getting kids back into school, or is that too soon, you think? And I don't know if he...
I got to think for a minute. You can go first.
Again...
He's clarifying.
He's trying to clarify?
He did clarify. He said not returning to live in-person teaching, specifically is what he's talking about. The delay in going back.
Yeah, that should have been sooner. Okay,
go ahead, Jess.
With regard to not returning to in-person teaching, so there's some schools that are still virtual. There's some programs that were set up to be virtual from the get-go in certain districts. And then there's a big push in schools now to extend hours back on the school day if they had a shortened school day because they cut out lunch and specials and whatever. The only thing that I could say is I think even though we've been talking about kids' ability to be flexible and pivot and all of that, I think that there is a tremendous amount of uncertainty and anxiety and dread that comes for kids, not knowing, is my school going to be shut down? Am I going to go back in person for 3 weeks and then have to go back? Yep. My schedule's just going to keep changing. The biggest thing that now this is just one classroom, but my virtual students have missed being in person, of course. They're in 5th grade. They'd like to finish out the year at their home schools, but something they've said that has stuck with me is more than anything, they just want consistency right now.
Yeah. That's powerful coming from some kids too.
Yeah.
Right. And for them to recognize that need is huge.
Absolutely.
Meaning that their lives have felt upended for a while.
Yep.
So the consistency of, you know what, I'm just going to go log on my computer. Mrs. Brown is going to be there. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
So thinking that way, I don't really think it makes a ton of sense to be trying to make changes partway through the school year in the way that we are now. My son's day is going to get extended, with 10 weeks left. And I don't know that people realize the consequences that has for not only educators, but for the students as well, because even if it sounds like a good idea, that especially for kids that have difficulty with change and are very regimented to their schedules, and the young elementary kids really are, that's really, really hard. And I know a lot of behaviors are resulting from that.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of my feeling on it. For consistency's sake, I don't think it's the best idea to be trying to open up everything with like 10 weeks left. I hope that answers your question.
No, I think that's a good answer. And I know you got to get going here in a second. Do you want to give a little response to this one at all?
You know, I think it's been a very careful. I think they've been careful. I think, and districts are so different. And here's the problem with what the state did to us is the state didn't give us any kind of, okay, this is what everybody's going to do. It would have been nice if the state would have come out and said, okay, all schools are just going to be remote, or all schools are just going to do this. But what they did was every district just kind of decided from their area how they were going to handle it. And that's where we came out with teachers are terrible and teachers don't want to work and they want to stay home and get paid. And my kid's in school. Why is that kid, everybody did something different. And that's what started the real issues with teachers are bad. They don't want to work. Well, in our district, never once did the teachers say anything. Teachers aren't in charge of whether people are in school. And I think if anybody understands anything from this podcast, it's that teachers aren't the ones making these decisions. The school districts are, and there's
curriculums you have to follow. There's policies and procedures.
Illinois Department of Public Health is saying, hey, you can't have kids in classrooms closer than 6 feet away. Well, okay, what's a school district going to do? And they just changed it now to 3, which kind of changed things a little bit. But I mean, when the state is putting out something like that, some districts can do it who don't have a lot of kids in there, and some absolutely can't. You just don't have the space for it. And York is a big one. There was a lot of controversy. If anybody has watched board meetings for York or anything that's going horrific. I mean, like it's been. If anybody has time to watch board meetings, go watch the York High School board meetings.
So
because,
on YouTube.
I mean, they are like the way that the board speaks. And I'm sorry if this is a bad thing to say. This might be kind of where you get into kind of controversial. But the way that those school board members speak to the superintendent and the people who are involved in the administration for District 205 is embarrassing. And it shouldn't happen that way. And the way that both ways. I mean, I don't know if anybody knows this, but the superintendent is just resigned, and they're having an interim like that. This doesn't happen typically in a school year. And I know you want to say something, but I'm just going to finish this thought. But
finish it.
It's sad that at a school board meeting you're hearing board members talk down to administrators and parents coming up and just bashing the teachers and bashing the school district. And education has never been like that before. And the fact that it has come to that is
very polarizing.
I shouldn't say it's never been like that before, but not as bad as it is right now.
Not in our lifetimes, at least.
Well, more visual, more out in the open.
Yes. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, because I think it's more of a power struggle, and let the leaders lead and be more, like you said, consistent about things. A consistent message and stick to it. Again, their positions in power. People come down to governors. Heck, I'm going to run for my job again. I want to be reelected. Superintendents, I want to be rehired. Board members, I want to be behind the scene power broker. And have little factions here and there. So again, have a consistent message. Again, what's it for? The children, the students, either whatever level, their hierarchies, whatever level of students for school. And again, like you said, have some decency and decorum about things. You can voice your opinion in opposition, but how you go about
it. That's what I'm saying.
So can I respond to?
Go ahead.
Go for it. Well, I just want to, I have a lot of friends who teach in Illinois, and seeing what they've gone through with their school districts. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is, the government and the CDC are like, these are the things you need to do to be safe. And then school districts come out with their plan and they're not adhering to it at all. And so I don't think people understand that when teachers are like, oh, we don't like this plan, and they go to their union and they're like, we don't feel safe. It's not because for arbitrary reasons. It's because the schools are coming forth with plans that are not in line with what the government and the CDC is saying is safe. Like schools saying, I have a friend who works at a school where they were saying, yeah, the kids are just going to eat lunch in the open together, and they get to do whatever they want for lunch.
It's like, well, that disregards everything else then, because nothing else matters.
Yeah. For the rest of the day.
But it's like, and then you look at what they say, like, you should not be eating with your mask off within 6 feet of another person and talking, and then schools are like, oh, well, we're just going to do that.
What are we going to do?
So I don't think, and I don't think people realize that in a lot of other industries, people aren't being put in that position where they're saying you have to do something that is just not in line with what safety standards are. I mean, I know obviously frontline workers are, but not a lot of industries are put in that situation. Yeah. So, I mean, just speaking for my friends in Illinois, I know or the teachers in Elmhurst for that matter, who, their complaints are not based on we want to be home. It's based on this is what is supposed to be safe, and this is what the school has come up with. It's not in line.
Yeah, I'm being told this by the people on the news and stuff, like, these are the regulations, and then I go to school, and it's not being upheld.
Because you think about their tests and controls, they're going on simultaneously as the pandemic is happening. Yeah. So you're trying to think, okay, how can we get a handle on this cat? Yeah. While it's still going on. Yeah. So it's one of those things like, we're trying to figure out as we go. Yeah. But be out and consistent message about it. Like, we don't, I'm a prior serviceman, and we would training exercises. They would come up with scenarios like, what if an alien comes out of the sky? Yeah. And people would say things like, you would have guys standing next to you like, what? That's not going to happen. Yeah. How do you know? Yeah.
Train for the unknown.
I mean, so you're over here trying to figure out how you're going to get, again, through a normal school year. Mm-hmm. And, well, we're trying to figure out as we go. Just come out and say it. Be in front of it. Yeah. Exactly. That's all.
The motto of this school year, before I go, I will leave you with this, is, what was it? Figuring out how to fly the plane while you're flying it or something. What was it? They kept saying that.
Building the plane while you're flying it.
As an educator, every time I heard that, I was like, you have to be kidding. Like, just stop. Don't say anything. I'd rather not hear anything from the administration than hear that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time.
Jessica, can you
it was great to have you on.
Yes.
All right, we'll see you later.
Thanks, sis.
So, hey, we got to do any kind of shifting out here? We good with these? These camera angles here, Rob? You want to do anything with this? Or just leave it?
You guys can shift over. Just leave it.
Just roll. Yeah, let's just roll.
Yeah.
But,
I like this.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just getting into the meat of it now. I might need to grab another drink here in a second. But I see you got... Yeah, absolutely. If you could grab another one of these Becks.
I'm good, thank you. I'm
good on there. You're good over here. Yeah, if you need to jump up at any point, more than welcome to just kind of go forward, and then we'll just keep it rolling and get back when you get back. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're feeling like you need to relieve yourself, by all means. One thing that I found really interesting and almost heartbreaking as a former athlete is seeing some of these kids lose like their senior seasons, or like, you've been working like my whole life growing up. I saw the York guys running out there to the field, and I was every level of schooling would go to the games every once in a while, and you idolize those guys. You're like, one day I'm going to be on that team. I'm going to be the one jogging out of the field. It's going to be so cool. And then like to have that just like that taken away from you right before your senior year and stuff, or like in your senior year, I can't imagine like some of the heartbreak that some of these kids are dealing with, as far as like that was a guarantee in your mind. I'm going to go to high school. I'm going to play football. I'm going to be on the team. Like, and just to lose that, I feel bad for any parents having to deal with kids in those situations.
Yes, I'm a lifelong athlete too. It may not look like it, but there are some things like adjustments that parents should have been ahead of, like well-adjusted children. Yeah. Instead of using sports as an end game for something. Yeah. Making them well-rounded, because on the court, on the field, whatever, there are adaptations and adjustments you have to make on the fly without the coach being in your ear about certain things. Yeah. Because as a play, the coach is on the sideline seeing you doing it, but he's not in the moment of that play going on. So as you're looking to get that college scholarship in certain things, still there are life lessons that you have to learn. Okay, things not going to go my way all the time. How can I make adjustments? And I think there's a lot of psychological and other controls that should have been in place more, because I don't want to sound like a hypocrite because I'm a jock, pseudo intellectual, but there's certain things like parents should not just put on like, oh, my kid's not going to be able to go to college for this.
Yeah.
And they're not alone though.
No.
Every kid is in the same situation.
Yes.
So, I think parents keep freaking out about my kid, the delay. It's like, no, every single kid is going to be.
There is no delay.
There's no magical place that's got this figured out where, unless you have all the money in the world to throw at this right now or something like that. But most high school seniors aren't getting that season, so they're all going to the next year in the same place with sports. Maybe there's
like half of them aren't getting it, half of them are getting it. Now
at least in Illinois, all of the football they're not playing. So there's something in that it's not like one kid's missing out on something another kid is getting. They're all going to have a delay from this year with their learning. And it's something that's a shared thing, which I think that's the positive in it is that, but I think parents, rightfully so, they're concerned about what's happening with the little human they're in charge of in front of them.
Yeah. Just hard. Sometimes it's hard to look past all that. You got your own job. You have the one kid, and I guess I got to worry about him. And you're blind to the fact that there's a million other kids that all need their own individual things, and have parents that feel the exact same way that you do. And as a teacher, that's overwhelming, I'm sure.
But I'm not blind to the fact that millions of dollars are put into clubs, club sports, AAU sports, amateur sports.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And just the idea of
those are running
opportunities for the kid to get to the next level. Little extra perks, or not necessarily perks, but edges to get them to that next level.
Yeah.
Those all things are not wasted on me. I'm like, I feel for them because of the investment, but there's also opportunity for parents to, and also other avenues to broaden their student horizons about certain things.
Yeah.
Open your mind up that, hey, these sports aren't, no matter what sport you're playing, it's temporary. Even if you go professional, it's still not your whole lifespan, unless you're playing golf and you're planning on playing till you're 70 or something like that. But
across the board, only 1% of make pro.
You shouldn't be shooting for that, but it's hard to tell kids though. I remember growing up, the last thing anyone could ever tell me that I wasn't going to the NFL. You try to tell them, like, you're 1%. That's not going to happen. You're not going to make it. Like, it just fueled me more. So I feel like it's one of those. It's one of those slippery slopes with like trying to be real with kids, like tell them like, here are the odds, but some of, especially me included, was like in high school. That was the only reason I was looking forward to going to school all day long, was because of what I was involved with.
But you went to school though. That's the thing. Whatever hook to get you to school.
Yeah,
that's the main thing. Where it drives you there afterwards. Who knows, but. You have that hook to get you into school. Yeah.
And you kind of going toward what we were talking about earlier, as far as, as an educator, it's not necessarily the content that you're trying to get across. It's about creating a good human being that you're putting out there in the world. And that's kind of the same thing that I always took from my best coaches and stuff, was teaching us how to be men and good human beings rather than, just how to be great at football. And again, that's where you need good people like you guys that come in and educate our youth of today. And for what? I mean, it's got to be for something. You guys need to be given better perks, or at least not be shit on when stuff goes bad. Like the fact that teachers were getting shit on during all this was like me, and this might be an outlandish comparison, but like Vietnam vets coming home from war getting like spit on for what they did overseas because they were given orders and like followed them and did their best, and they went and served the country, and then they come back and get shit on it. Like, it's not the teacher's faults for having to be, on video and having to do e-learning, but you guys were the ones getting the flack for it.
The best of it.
Yeah.
I think that we felt the brunt of a lot of parents and students' frustration and anxiety and need to have control in a time that was very uncertain. And I'm not speaking personally about what I experienced. I feel like my district has been awesome, and so have my parents.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that, that desire for normalcy is there. But I also, it really is disturbing when you hear stories about, you can go onto a lot of social media boards and see parents like almost like kind of I mean, I don't want to say gloating, but like there's some parents that really seem to, for whatever reason, like this adversarial relationship between themselves and educators.
Yeah.
And what an educator wants is for it to be your kid, the teacher, and the parent. We have to have that relationship to help your kid grow at all. Mm-hmm. So it's difficult when you don't have that parent support.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and I'm not accusing parents at all. I'm a parent. I see both sides. Mm-hmm. When you've got an issue with a teacher, bringing that issue up, kindly and respectfully, and saying something. Don't just sit on something that you're angry about and say it on social media or say it to somebody else. Word of mouth travels fast. These are our reputations and our livelihoods.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult to try to form those student connections when the parent piece isn't there. Mm-hmm. We're not saying that you have to be completely responsible for your child's education or even during the pandemic responsible for homeschooling, but that connection is so important. And when we aren't working on the same page together and accusations get thrown around from one side or the other, we're starting to destroy that child's chance of reaching their full potential. Yeah. It's got to be the three of us working.
It's got to start at home. The work starts at home. Laying a foundation for your kids before they get to school is, listening to authoritative figures and being, right from wrong and stuff. Before you get to kindergarten, you should know pretty much right from wrong and like hitting, pulling, stuff like that. There is a basis there. And again, even in any grade growing up, there needs to be some kind of reinforcement at home about, or following up. How are you doing? Why is this way? You can't just expect they come, to the home and go back to school and there's no interaction there as far as how school's going and just expect the educator to do the whole job.
There might be this society feeling of what a kid should and should not know and what behaviors they should and should not have coming into the school, but it's the teacher's job to meet every kid where they're at.
Yeah.
That's okay, I like that.
So there is, when your kid comes into our school, we don't have expectations of that child.
Okay.
We want to help your child where they are and help them grow. We want to help them make progress.
Yeah, it's a really good way to say it.
So, we really want to be allies and we want to be helpful and we want to be the best we can for your kid. So, being given the tools and the support to be able to do that is so essential to our success for your child.
Yeah. So as far as some lighter stuff here in education, what are maybe some of the success stories you've seen, or maybe like an outlandishly funny thing that you've had a student do in your class? Maybe I don't know if either one of you guys got anything over here, but is there at least a success story you kind of remember seeing someone maybe you felt like you got involved a little bit and put them on the right path? You have to have somebody.
Yeah, a funny story right before the pandemic. There are tons, but I don't see myself as a teacher to rack up victory war stories. I'm like, okay, keep going, guys. Come on, get the next class. Come along. Yeah. You want those relationships, but pats on the back. I love them, of course. But it's a cyclical. You'll see them again, like you.
Yeah.
But a couple students before this pandemic started. Her name was Kimmy, and gifted girl, music-wise. She would always come to my classroom and not go to her chorus room. I'm like, Kim, go. I'm like, you never know. They put you in this leadership position because they see something in you. You never know what's going to happen. Time is short. Anything could happen. I'm giving her the whole story about, And when the pandemic happened, she ran, Mrs. Summers, you were right. A couple of the kids, you were right. I'm like, I'm like, you see, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, so taking advantage of the opportunity you're given.
Yeah.
They see special things in you.
Yeah.
And seize the moment. Because I gave her a story about like when I was in the service, like I had opportunity for some leadership positions and I didn't take them. And
thank you for your service, by the way. I didn't say that earlier. Yeah.
You're welcome. But it's just from my life lessons, I've learned to help them. And a couple students like, you were right. I thought you were just nagging and preaching to us like our dad. I'm like, no, this doesn't come out of the sky.
Yeah. Trying to set you up for the real world.
Yeah.
Shit is real out there.
So they said before, they said thank you. They a couple students wrote me letters like, hey, look, thank you. You know, we should listen. I should have listened to you more. I'm gonna take advantage. I'm like, okay, that's the goal. You got it. Whatever you do with it, it's on you. So
yeah.
It's fun, you know.
And I think that is definitely a takeaway from the whole COVID thing is showing kids that like stuff does change. Life changes. Things happen. Yeah. You better figure out how to work with it because the world doesn't stop because something new came into play. Pivoting, being flexible, and again, in any career or as we all exit school and get into the real world, shit can change on a dime.
Any minute.
Before you.
Well, the narrative is that kids are so behind, and I think they're so ahead.
Yeah,
especially,
as far as like life skills and like stuff that, you're in the same, if this never would have happened, you're in that same schedule and, you know, the same normal classroom experience. You never see the other ways of that. Maybe could have been better ways that you learn. You know, different kids learn in different ways. Some learn better sitting there and getting lectured. Some learn better when you got a PowerPoint up and there's pictures flying across the screen.
Well, some put them in front of a engine, let them get their hands dirty. You know,
tactile.
Yeah.
Some people learn in different ways, and I guess that did definitely highlight that, and maybe you know, especially some of the older kids, maybe they realize something in themselves that, hey, this is how I need to learn. This is the best way for me to do this stuff is on a computer, or I need to be in a comfortable area. Like, I don't know, maybe it leads some high school kids into taking some more online classes and realizing that they can do that. And I was definitely nervous about that going into college. It was like online only classes. And I remember taking a chemistry class in college from home because I didn't get a chem credit and I'm about to graduate college. And they're like, oh, by the way, you need like a bio-chem credit. You only got biology. You didn't get chemistry. So it was my last summer, right before I go into student teaching, I have to take an all-online chemistry course where they sent me a little chemistry kit. And in my room, I got like a little sterno, like flame and these broke-ass like tongs. I launched it at one point, almost burned my fucking house down. I was totally lucky that I didn't catch any drapes.
Did they not know who Justin Peacock was?
Dude, I don't know why they gave me this chem kit. Yeah, figure it out, guy. Yeah, so I got like a C in the class, which I felt like a huge success, especially for knowing that I was on my way out of that degree and like this is the last course, I just need to pass it, and doing it at home, trying to teach yourself chemistry was very difficult. Yeah,
you try and play it down, Justin. You're always a cool kid, man. You know, you try and play that down. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, a lot of you. Yeah.
I look back on it, I don't know. You know, you forget these things. I'm like, was I an asshole to people in high school? I don't remember.
Just
I think I was pretty nice.
She was asking me like, I'm like, no, I don't remember the good kids.
Yeah.
I don't remember them.
I think it was in your class that David Hudson you told him to be in the hall. And then he like propped himself up in between the two like little wing walls that come out for like the entryway. You could kind of sandwich yourself in there.
Yeah.
And he climbed all the way to the top. And I forgot what teacher came out, but he was like doing that. And he like propped himself up all the way to the ceiling. And someone opened the door and they're like, David Hudson, what are you doing? He's like, I'm Spider-Man. And they're like, get out of here. Go down to the principal's office. It was so fucking funny. I'm pretty sure it was outside of your class. It was at least outside of your classroom. I don't know if I was in that class at the time, but.
And that's what you deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? My student teaching, I had a freshman class and I was teaching health to them. Mm-hmm. And we're doing baby CPR. Mm-hmm. Well, I turn my back to the class, and this one, you know, the comic of the class, I turn back around kind of quickly, abruptly, and he's performing some weird stuff on a little baby doll in the classroom, getting all of his buddies to laugh and shit. Mm-hmm. And I was like, turn around, like, just gave him a look. And the rest of the time, you could tell he was devastated. And I call him over at the end of the class, and I was just basically like, if anybody else saw you doing that, you'd be in like a lot of trouble. Yeah. I'm like, so let's just not do that shit ever again. And when I'm teaching from now on, I gave you this break. Just give me some respect back, and I expect you to like straighten out a little bit and don't be pulling that shit anymore. Because any other teacher in here that would have saw that, you would have been. Something bad would have happened.
Yeah, that went a long way with him, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it did. Actually, he's on Facebook still, and I see him every once in a while. It looks like he's done something right in his life. He's still alive, so that's a good part.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got something?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out to everybody that my sister Jessica, who was on...
Yeah, talk a little louder for us out here.
Just here. I had the unique situation of whenever I got in trouble at school, they called my sister because she was at school when I was there.
Yeah.
They called her. My dean called her down first.
Okay.
And then called me down. So she would always be there waiting for me. So I'd walk in and she'd be sitting there already in the chair like.
It's like getting double grilled.
I can't hide anything from my parents because she's gonna tell them, you know, like immediately. So I had a unique situation of having my sister there who was not easy on me or nice on me at all. But in hindsight, I think she probably did get me out of a couple of jams too. So,
well, and that
was good.
That speaks to being a city kid and coming to a community like Elmhurst. It blew my mind how like groups of kids that grew up together from preschool to all the way up to high school, and I'm like, wow. I would see pictures in yearbooks of like, that's so and so. Yeah. Like, we were friends. I'm like, never known it. Yeah. It taught me it even though that I thought I was a worldly person, it expanded my understanding of things of how communities are and the role of people, different groups play into their development.
Yeah. So when you were growing up, did you bounce around from school to school, or that just wasn't something that you moved down with the same group of friends, or was it because you moved around a lot?
Yeah. It was, again, it's not typical for everyone in the city, but I stayed with my grandparents. I grew up with my mom's single parent. Okay. My brothers and I, and moved from community to community. Yeah. And one group of kids you have in this grade school, you probably never see them again. Yeah. And then go to high school with kids who drop out or whatever, do different things. And it just wasn't forms of stability like out in the suburbs. Like, man.
Okay. So every new school you went to is like starting over a new kind of feel? Yeah.
I mean, we've known each other 28 years, and we've been in each other's lives almost that entire time.
Yeah. No, which is one of those things where I know that helped me get through school and be the person I am is because I had that structure like growing up. Like when I was in school, I had the support system there where I'd get there every day, and I know like if I was having a bad day, like, I had all my buddies and they all knew that what my life was like at home, and I kind of knew what they were dealing with. Yeah. And it definitely, as a younger kid, because I was going through the divorced family and stuff like that, it was like that was my safe haven. I was looking forward to going to school because like home kind of sucked, So you're speaking exactly to like my experience in school
and that was probably one thing that sucked about this pandemic from my experience. Kids needed to be in school for a meal, for internet. Yeah. Like you see kids hanging around like, dude, like, because they don't have internet on their phone. They have a phone, the internet, certain things like that. And so it's not like the teachers didn't want the kids to be at school. It's like, we want to be here because we knew that that's where their safety would come from. Yeah. That's where they would get a meal from. Yeah. In terms of structures they have with if something going on with a kid, a particular student, that student may not say anything to you, but another student would tell you. Yeah. He sees so and so today, okay. So you make a roundabout way to get into that student. Yeah. And they're not snitching on their friend, but they care about them. They have their little social structures that they care about. Yeah.
I'm sure if they were telling you, they knew that the kid probably respected you and maybe listened to you if you talked to him.
Yes. Yeah. Or find the right person that would help them.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And obviously kids who have the bad situation at home, they need to be in school and they need it for those reasons you spoke about. But I work with really privileged kids. Mm-hmm. But most of the kids in my school, probably I would say between like 60 to 70% are single kid or only child. Okay. Like most people in Brooklyn, they just have one. And
city life.
So all those kids are home alone all day.
Yeah.
And their parents are both working, probably on Zoom all the time in the house. And like for them to be home alone all day for a year is so
brutal.
rough.
Yeah.
And also, you know, in a community like Elmhurst, all your friends are down the block.
Yeah.
In a private school like that, your friends are
all over the
spread
place.
out
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And your best friend could live a 40-minute train ride from you.
Yeah.
And so you can't meet up to hang out outside.
Yeah.
You know, and my kids are young enough where not all of them have as much technology as other ones. So just like the isolation
Yes.
is just really, I mean, those things, you know, not having meals and not having internet and access and things, that's really important. But also just thinking of my kids, I think they need at least some in-person time in school no matter what, because they are all, most of them are alone.
Yeah.
And even if they have siblings, you know, that's not necessarily the social structure they need to grow as people, to be with their sibling all the time. I was lucky I had a twin sister, so I would have been fine. But you know, just seeing my kids who've been alone, it's really been hard on them.
Yeah. I work with a couple high school kids, and I overheard them talking about how when the quarantine first went down in March, that they were like, didn't know what to do with themselves. And they were talking, and I kind of overheard them, you know, I was eavesdropping on them, obviously. So I started hearing them talk about this, and they're like, we were in our room just getting drunk, playing video games, our buddies just like drinking with ourselves and like depressed because we couldn't go out and couldn't do anything. And they're like, yeah, once it started to clear up and we were able to like go do stuff again, he's like, I stopped drinking by myself and realized I was like starting to have a problem with it. And I'm like, how many kids are feeling that way and that were doing that at that time? These are a couple kids from Elmhurst.
Yeah.
Let alone kids all around the country or in worse off situations, you know, when they're stuck at home for that long. It's like, it gave them a lot of time to do stuff that maybe they wouldn't have done had they not been given all that time.
And it goes to bigger issues like you look at this, it's not just about teachers, it's about support staff, which I'm part of right now. Other related services, and kids self-medicating and doing things to help themselves. You look at like, wow, like it's a bigger globe. It's not just about black and white teachers and parents. Related services, friends who like students who check themselves, like how they balance their personalities off one another.
Yeah.
Then their peer groups. My son, he would come home saying words. I'm like, I've never said that. Where'd you get that from? And a friend of mine said, he's like, don't even fight it because they're going to learn things that you won't have any control over. So you just understand how to deal with it and manage it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So now my son come home saying things or phrases that like I never heard. I'm like, oh, okay. Or he'll laugh at me. I try and use it the same way. Like, so it's just one of those things now you look at, it's not black and white.
Yeah.
They're all kind of social constructs that go on with students and the learning community of how this pandemic gave us the idea to kind of reassess.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping that that is what happens here, is that, you know, the school district and stuff do reassess after this year. And again, like you guys were saying, is maybe take parts of this and like the successes of, you know, the e-learning and stuff like that, and take parts of it and utilize that now in the everyday, you know, day to day, just because there are benefits and kids do learn in different ways. So like being able to implement some of those things and then maybe not just go back to doing everything the exact way we were doing before. Yeah. I mean, I just think in education is in general, it's tough to implement a bunch of new technology and use all this stuff because where's the money coming from?
Yeah.
And then everyone's going to have the same way of doing it. So it's the easiest way with least resistance is just to keep doing it the way we know how to do, kind of thing, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, you're right. And you hit on it earlier. You asked about what are some fun success stories. School, it has to be some type of levity to it as well. It just can't all be regimental rigidness to things.
Yeah.
You know, you got to have some type of levity to it, some type of holistic experience of the fun of it, not just all around assemblies, whatever. It's like, oh, these are just to control things. Hey, what are organic, naturalized, enjoyable moments of school? Just being in the hallways, watching someone pat with the big hair, or so-and-so, oh, there goes so-and-so with his tuba again. You know, just the human
little characters and stuff. It's like a little day to day. Yeah. Everybody has their own, like, I used to sit in a certain spot and certain people walk past me. When you'd see this teacher going into their room, it was getting close to, like, the bell was going to be ringing soon.
The quirkiness of it. Yes. Yeah. The human element of it.
I'm sure too with some of you guys is like the sounds of being in class and like how it sounds when you're like in busy halls and stuff like that.
I miss a kid coming in the library when they weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And I'm like in there and they're not supposed to be in there and they just kind of pop in because they're going to, I miss that.
Yeah.
Well, because, that student probably connected with you in terms of an anchor.
Yeah.
Something like a consistency or identifiable, I don't know, like reading his manga comics. Just different things like, certain things that, I know this person's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any really like eclectic kids that like maybe this one that's like always asking for like a new book or like?
Yeah, I mean, and that's all gone away this year. It's really sad. I've tried to build like an online ebook library and it's, I have my kids still requesting things and I get whatever they want. But yeah, I mean, I totally miss just like the whole community of the library. And that when you were saying like, what are your success stories? And my success story is like always when I've connected kids to a book that they've loved. Yeah. And that's kind of just been my whole career is I really think reading makes you a better person. I especially, it connects you to communities and people that you'd never experience in your real life. Yeah. And I think it builds empathy and awareness and knowledge of the world around you. And I think that was my joy was building a collection that did that for kids, finding books they'd love, especially manga and graphic novels right now is.
What is it?
Manga and graphic novels,
I have
anime.
No idea.
It's,
okay.
Basically graphic novels is like a comic.
Yeah.
It's like a book written like a comic, but it's really popular now. And I think it kind of goes along with how kids consume media and what they're, but it's great for all readers because having the pictures helps
tells you the story a little bit more.
Yeah. So it really bridges the gap between, for all kids. It's like really accessible. Yeah. And there's just amazing content being created, amazing artists, just amazing work out there telling really amazing stories. So it's really popular right now. Okay. So that's huge. But yeah, I mean, just, getting the new book in a series, being able to book talk books and just share stories with kids. I even find it hard to read right now since the pandemic started. So I can't imagine what it's like for kids. Oh yeah. Okay. I mean, it's
like lack of focus or just because you're at home so often, you're just like not.
I mean, I just think it's every time, especially in the beginning when I would try to read, my mind would just be racing with other things. Yeah. And it would be hard to focus and, reading, it does take a little bit of stamina and a little bit of concentration, which, especially now work is a little bit more stressful, a little bit harder. So when you're done with it, you want to consume something like easy and quick. Yeah. So, but yeah, I totally think that that was like, I don't even know what I started with this rant here about this, but
it's okay.
Just
we're around the bonfire. That's what happened.
I miss that whole part of my job. It's gone.
Yeah.
I definitely. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that has to stink. Just knowing your personality and knowing that you love to be a librarian, to lose those interactions, I'm sure is definitely tough on you. But yeah, what were you saying?
Do you have any kind of virtual system for checkout?
I do. I have an ebook library and an audiobook library, and I really don't have the time to be spending hours curating it and creating collections and newsletters and blasts of stuff. I just don't have the time or the energy for it. So I just have a Google form, and when a kid wants a book, they put it in there and I put it in the collection right away. And I've gone in and done tutorials to all the kids on how to access it. It's used, the kids who want it use it. But it's just not the same.
Yeah. I definitely miss being able to put a good book in a kid's hands
and
see their eyes when they see the story. And
And parents want them to have less screen time. So parents don't want them to be reading books on their computer. So sorry to interrupt you, but
no problem.
So do you say this Tony has a question? This Anthony? Or is there another Anthony?
Tony here.
Okay, we got so many Tonys right now. It's confusing.
No, it's Tony back here. All right. Question's a little off topic now of what you're talking about, but
let's go for it.
What was your favorite senior prank you saw?
Oh, that's a good one. And you guys have all kind of worked. You ever worked in high schools, really?
No, I never worked in high school.
Have you seen any?
Well, at my high school.
Oh, when you were
sorry.
in. Yeah, you need to get
I
close.
mean, he's probably
Yeah.
the one to ask about this.
At my,
Yes, we're gonna go to him last, I think.
Don't.
No. So go.
I have no idea what we did as a senior class. I don't remember anything. But I've heard, I never saw it, but I heard that apparently there was a Volkswagen Beetle that was disassembled, parts of it brought into the school, and then it was reassembled in the old courtyard.
I think I have heard about that in
Yeah,
the courtyard.
yeah.
Which is a very
I think it would have been like
interesting, awesome
maybe
one.
my freshman year or like right before it.
It was
but-
at the old. Was it the old building?
Yeah, it was right before because they couldn't have done it in the atrium.
Yeah.
It was in the courtyard.
Because there isn't a courtyard in the new building, really.
No. This
No,
is like
not
that.
that
Yeah,
way.
it was when there was a courtyard there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was right before. I mean, the new school didn't have one, but they used to, from what I know, that courtyard used to allow students to smoke in it, cigarettes.
Yeah, it was confirmed by teachers. Some teachers told me that. So.
Yeah. At one point in time, it wasn't any time when I was going there, but
Time.
yeah, it's hilarious to think that now, just like the day and age, like letting seniors smoke in the courtyard or something. Seems
I mean, if
so
you're 18,
ridiculous.
you're allowed, or 7, I don't know what the age.
Well, it's 21 now for cigarettes.
Is it?
21 for
Yes.
cigarettes?
My little brother vapes, and I have to go pick his vape up for him because he can't buy the vape.
Wow.
But he could go serve his country and die for
Don't
your
even
country.
give me. That's
Yeah.
another night. That's another night conversation. Seriously. Seriously. That's BS. That's complete BS.
Yeah.
If you have to sign up for selective service, whatever, at a certain age, you should be able to
Yeah.
responsibly have a drink or
Smoke
get
a cigar
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
And then Dina, I think you got a mic back there. Maybe let Dina. Did you know more of the details of this Volkswagen thing? You said it was your father's senior year at York?
Yeah, that was actually that was my father's graduating class in
Really?
1973. Yeah,
1973. Nice.
1973. They
Yeah.
took apart a Volkswagen Beetle and then reassembled it in the small gym
Okay.
that was near the parking lot.
Yeah.
There. And faculty was like, "Oh my God, how do we get this thing out of here?"
That's awesome.
Because it was such a simple car. It was so easy to just take apart and put back together.
Makes sense. I've heard of some people doing the same thing with like putting teachers, not the same thing, I guess, but putting a teacher's car up on the school or on the roof of the school with like a crane or some outlandish shit with cars. But that's it's a pretty resourceful one. Taking apart a car, moving it, and then assembling that inside the school is pretty good. What do you got any ones that either when you went to school or when you were during your
We didn't necessarily do
career?
that, but my first year at York, they let some animals loose at school.
Okay, what kind of animals? Was it pigs?
Pigs, yeah.
Was it the
I
one,
heard about the
one,
pigs.
And I was
1,
like-
2, 4 thing?
Yeah,
I'm like,
they-
what the
and they
fuck
numbered
was
them.
this? I'm like,
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that. I'm like, I've never seen. I'm like,
Yeah.
who does this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
I didn't feeling one way or another, but
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, seeing pranks? What?
It wasn't like a thing when you were coming.
Yeah, I'm like, huh?
Did our
So I had a
class do
learning
one?
curve. I had a learning curve. This is the old building. So I'm like, were you guys even?
I don't think.
Was this 98, 99?
I've heard that prank, but
And I was
I
like,
don't think our class
I
got
just-
anything together
well,
to do.
we did.
Yeah,
me
was
and
the
Phil-
one when they called in?
Construction started in 2000.
Yeah, I think it was 98. I think it was
So,
98 or 98.
2000 would have still been the old building.
Yeah, because it
2000
finished up our
and then it
sophomore
was-
year is
and it
when they were
finished in
wrapping up.
2004.
Because junior year we were done, and
Yeah,
we were
freshman year we were
in
both in both
construction.
buildings.
Yes.
I think sophomore year we weren't in the old building anymore.
No, I think all that was left was a couple like the gyms and stuff. But I
Yeah.
think as far as the academic wing was ready for us.
Freshman year.
Or was it freshman year?
We were in the new academic wing freshman year.
I thought that was sophomore.
All the classrooms were new, but we ate lunch.
In like the old English
the
rooms. they said.
academic building
Yeah.
was ready, but the other half of the building
Was not,
wasn't.
yeah.
So
like the field house and like
yeah, the field house, the auditorium, like the area where the
The new
auditorium,
cafeteria.
all of that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
we ate in like a exposed
Classroom, yeah.
old
they were like demolished.
classrooms. And we ate lunch
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that
hilarious.
was like a whole new experience for me. I'm like,
So we had somebody that I knew. I don't remember who, but they got me a key off the janitor's ring.
Oh my God.
I had the master key for the entire school. Every door in the school, it opened it. Okay, so my senior year, we had gotten some like hamsters together, a couple little birds, and a tarantula. And I
God.
bought all these things, and I had them ready to go. and then another group of guys was coming in, and they were trying to do some like willy-nilly like balloon launcher shit. And it was kind of taking our cover off because I'm like, you guys can't start hitting a building with a bunch of water balloons filled with mustard and shit if I'm sneaking around the side door to go release all these animals in there. So I'm like, so you guys need to chill and stop your thing. And then once I release the animals in, I'll come back out and give you guys like, okay, I did my part. Now you guys can go pack the school. Well, as much as we try to communicate that, they still started pelting the school when me and Mike DeGraff are on the back corner of the school, about to go down the alley where like the autos and stuff
would
is at.
just disappear and in the school and no one would ever see it.
I mean, maybe not. I mean, so anyways, but we never ended up being able to do it because before we got down the alley, because we were going to go by the Wood Tech and like autos door, we were going to release it all in there. And they started hitting the building, and then across the street they called the cops.
Yeah.
So we all booked. And
that sounds like our class, not really in cohesion.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I actually let a tarantula go in the woods by my house. So I don't know if that thing had babies or
it's probably terrorizing.
Messed with the
indigenous
the
species
ecosystem.
are probably dead in the area.
Yeah. That thing handling it freaked
I don't know
me out.
necessarily if it was like senior pranks, but there are a couple things that happen. I'm not going to say any names to protect the innocent. But
or the not so innocent.
There was an assembly going on, or is it a talent show? And some guys went streaking, and they came out of the auditorium, and one of the administrators told me to stop them. And I looked at the kid.
Naked.
How would you
and
like?
I'm like, no. And he's ran past me. I got reamed so bad. I'm like,
what are you supposed to do?
I thought it was funny for one thing. Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
I mean, we're not supposed to touch kids anyway.
Yeah.
Like, no, a naked one.
Yeah.
Right.
I've got a reputation of like letting kids slide with certain things.
Yeah.
And he ran past me. I'm like, and another one was doing a live, like the announcements.
I was good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like,
I remember that.
and he came out, and again, another opportunity came out. I'm like,
Yes.
So it was a live announcements at York.
Yeah, every morning,
and ran out,
third
and I'm
period.
like, dude, stop. And
let's give some
I just let him
context.
go, and I got called into the office again.
Oh, because you were around when that kid did that in the library?
And he came through, and I let him go right past me.
Wait,
I'm like,
okay. So every day during third period, we'd have a live video announcement.
Yeah.
And it was like a class you would take. And you would
AV
like
class, yeah.
an AV class you would take, and they would all together put in like a team live announcements, and they tell you about like what's going on in the school clubs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so every day, third period was a little bit longer. Turn on. There's a TV in every room. Everyone would watch it and listen to it. We'd be quiet.
And it was
then
live streamed at that point.
live streamed every day. And so
until this day.
you can say what happened now.
No, I'm like,
so we're sitting there.
I can explain it for you.
Go ahead.
I forget exactly what his name was.
Let's probably not.
No,
say
let's
his name.
not say his name.
Yeah,
Let's
maybe
not
not.
say his
Okay.
name, but
We're gonna
if
say
you-
John
he's
Doe.
probably got a family now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have no shame. Anyways, so he comes out in like a Bruno looking like thing. It was all pink, but it was like a full on like G-string, and I think it went to his shoulders too. I think it was like one of the ones that like
Like a
was
banana
down
hammock.
here.
A banana hammock.
Yeah, it was leopard print.
I thought it was pink. Maybe
One of them.
I thought it was
know.
green. That's so funny. I thought it was green in my head.
Oh
It's
my
green.
god! I don't know if
head,
anyone
it's
was
green.
looking that closely.
I know blue.
But he literally started doing cartwheels in the background, so you can see him and like doing this little shit in the like way background.
But he wasn't a part of the announcements,
No,
right? He was just
no.
he just
He just
came
came
into
in.
the room while they were
And then
doing
he
it.
came right up to the microphone. He's like, special announcement. And he was like in this like thong. And it was
Just shoving
really
his junk in the
very
camera.
hairy individual as well. And
Everybody was just like, what the fuck?
it's so funny. Oh my. And I know, I don't want to say he got expelled, but I think
He got in trouble.
he got in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Really did.
Yeah.
Because it was indecent exposure.
Yeah.
I've never
Yeah.
been so proud of my school.
Yeah.
I
was like my
got called on the
proudest
carpet
moment.
too for letting him go past me. I'm like,
How did they know though? Did someone see on the cameras or something?
well, no, because it was like in that period, and they saw the camera and we ran past me. I'm like,
These crazy kids.
yeah. I'm like,
That's a crazy thing to ask you to be. I'm sorry. That's a crazy thing to ask you to be solely responsible for.
You gotta
Solving
catch
and
the,
stopping yourself.
Yeah.
yeah. But
Things have really changed since
Yeah.
then.
That was memorable though.
That was a good one. That's
But
for
the thing,
sure.
but again, from my experience, like malicious bag, I'm like, no, it's teenagers expressing them. I don't know.
And you kind of saying that too earlier is like, you don't know what they're going through at home.
Yeah.
Like you don't know why they're coming in with this attitude today, or why they're all pissy today, or lashing out at a student or a teacher. Maybe they just got the shit kicked out of them at home.
Yeah, but however,
or something. You know?
Even though it's school, it's like, okay, there's for every student there's probably an individual personality for each of them.
Yeah.
So shouldn't you have not like no, but still like in the grand scheme of things, is not interrupting the educational process. It may be a little bit of a like disrupting the educational process, but any malicious happen? No, just being
a stupid teenage kid. Yeah.
It wasn't. No one's learning got interrupted in that moment.
I mean, Peyton Manning got what reprimanded for mooning. Have you heard that story about him mooning?
Yeah.
I'm like.
It's like, come on.
Like, okay, he wants.
All right, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's always, everyone gets judged a little bit more when they're in the limelight. You start to look back at things like, I mooned a couple people too. Yeah. Happy that the cameras weren't on, or I'm not famous enough for anyone to give a shit.
But you're keeping the kids safe. You protect the environment. Things are moving along. Things like that happen.
Yeah.
Again.
There's no reason to ruin a kid's life over some shit like that. Yeah.
Like, don't let it, like, not going to let them
graduate.
Walk across the stage or something like that happen,
Yeah.
Make them do community service. Make them go serve dinners at a senior home.
Yeah, learn
Call
something
bingo. Call bingo at, see how that goes.
Yeah. Go give him a lifelong experience that he's going to like learn something real from, rather than just going, oh, you're suspended now, go home and sit there, which is probably a dream for half of you
so when
guys doing this shit anyway.
Yeah, when they have children with their own individual personalities, what are you going to do? Reprimand, punish them? Like, laugh it off, keep going, Are there other underlying issues there? Like, instabilities there, substance abuse. Yeah. Okay, check those boxes off. Nothing. Okay, he was just being an knucklehead the day.
Yeah, exactly right.
Teenagers. Trying to impress a girl. He's trying to impress a girl.
Yeah,
whatever.
Probably was how that all got started. Had to be
or
high school
classmates.
Yes.
Yeah, and then that's where you go the whole thing about all boys school, all girls schools. Kids missing time because they don't have these outlets. Because I know some students who parents like, your ass home, you gonna work.
Yeah.
School, like you get this done, like they have to work anyway, but shit, you're not on pandemic, you coming to work, you're gonna earn some money, you're gonna pay this light bill or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you go out, again, related services, come out, hey, go out and check on them. Are you being judgmental? No, but just observe it and make sure everything's, fine, and making sense of the time that we have and family situations, for the bubble that we're under for this pandemic. Because again, as many families and issues out there are ways to adjust to them. You have to adjust to them.
Yeah. So last question here. We're gonna get signing out here in just a moment, but as a panel of educators here, do you have any messages for any parents out there or anyone else that's been sitting here watching this whole thing unfold? Anything you'd like to clarify, or any little last statements you'd like to make to any parents maybe watching today?
Oh boy.
Anybody know? Is that too dangerous of a question, maybe?
I'd like to say something.
Yeah, what do you got?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for being patient as we pivoted through this pandemic. We have really appreciated the support. And for anybody who's had to do a COVID check-in for all of your kids coming into the district and taking temperatures every morning and making sure masks are washed and, just rolling with the changes. We really appreciate the support that we've gotten.
It's got to be a community. It's got to be everyone working together.
Or getting your kid logged on or whatever it is. We couldn't have made the school year possible without parent support. So thank you.
Yeah,
that's what I'd like to say.
Anything over there?
That's
you happy?
very
good?
classy.
It's good.
I agree with it all. I don't know. I just don't think parents should underestimate how much we care about their kids.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anybody realizes how much time I spend worrying and thinking about those kids.
Because you truly love your students.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All
you have
the time.
to.
So much.
Yeah.
even the ones that drive me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, yeah. And I know, I don't know if every teacher's like that, but I think most of us are.
It's often at the detriment of our own kids too. Like, love you, Axis, but really,
You have a lot
those
of kids. You have a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 20. Well, their numbers keep changing. I have 22 kids.
Yeah.
Axis is one of them, and there's 21 others.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is to be a teacher's kid.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I have 12 right now, and their happiness, I just it's all I care about, and it's all I think about. And I think that, especially parents who are frustrated with teachers, hopefully, unless you have a real dud on your hands, which I was thinking, I was thinking about that. I wanted to say it the whole time, is like, everyone was talking about our favorite, other people talked about their favorite teacher. And it's like, most kids don't remember their favorite teacher. They remember the shitty teachers.
Yeah. You're right about that.
We can't, I don't want to diminish that they exist and that they're out there. But for the most part, especially if a teacher's lasted 10 years, 9 years, more than 5 years, most of the people out there right now, they care about your kids so much. And, we're just trying our best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but I also agree with all the classy stuff Jess said.
Well, thank you guys again for coming out tonight. Really appreciate it.
Hey, get Tony. Tony didn't finish up.
I don't know. I felt like I was going to jump in, and I don't know. Did you have anything too you'd like to say?
Yeah. Hey, couple things. Thank you for inviting me out.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
Bonfire crew. Also, for the families out there, there's stresses for everyone. Even when we go back to so-called normal, the students who are trying to get into the Ivy League, the most prestigious schools, the ones who are just trying to make it by, have compassion on both ends of the spectrum. I mean, I don't want to say any particular teacher's name because they're all male and females help me out, but Mr. Cochran he was famous for his starfish story.
Oh, I loved him.
So he was really helpful on understanding things. Like, you can't make a difference for all of them, but one you can. If you travel with one, you made a difference in that one's life. Again, the high functioning students who they have stresses trying to get to Harvard and maintain their stability for their place in life. The low function ones, just have compassion on both ends and support one another. Yeah. And again, this is a good platform. I really like this platform. I follow you guys in your evolution.
Thank you.
So yeah, I enjoy it, and this is a good way of doing it as well. Yeah. However you can.
Thank you, Tony.
And we're definitely going to have you back out for something a little lighter.
Yeah.
Maybe something in sports or something
Music.
coming up here soon. Music, yeah. I have a Will Ferrell's movie episode coming up here soon. So if you want to get in some comedy stuff, you're more than welcome. But
we were talking records earlier. So
there you go. Yeah, some music potentially.
We're going to get him on for the music one.
Yeah.
Do next.
We're also trying to get some bands out here
Not
again.
metal. I don't know if you're a big metal fan, but
yeah, we just got done with metal. I don't know if that was going to be up your alley anyway. I could be wrong, but
we can finally talk music too.
Yeah.
I missed a lot of opportunities in high school, apparently.
Yeah.
That's okay. Like, metal's fledgling with metal, but I understand. I'm,
yeah.
Godsmack, whoever. Like, what's metal? What do you call it?
I don't listen to metal, so I don't know. You can't ask me.
Again,
I'm listening to 90s R&B. I'm listening to 90s R&B and stuff is what I usually do.
With kids, you try and understand what, like you said, meet them where they are.
Yeah.
What connects them?
That's
connect
great.
the music.
I love that. Yeah.
Comics, whatever.
Yep. That's why I have Among Us on my phone. That's the only reason.
Yeah, you're the hip and cool teacher. I got Among Us.
I still haven't tried to play, so good job.
I can't get out of the beginning room. Maybe we can figure it out together after
Never
this.
even tried.
If you guys have figured out e-learning, you can figure out Among Us. Let me tell you that much.
Earpod would do Among Us.
I want to say thank you to JPL Property Services, York Furrier, Mike's and Casey's Meat Markets, as well as More Brewing Company. And then Jay and Jill Create, as always. Thank you guys so much. I'd like to also give a shout out to the Basement Boys one more time.
Basement Boys.
We love those guys. That was another group of York guys that early on had given us a little bit of cash to be our first sponsor. Someone had actually given us some money to do this. So
what's the name of one of them?
Robbie Graves. We had talked about it earlier. Jake Schweiss.
I remember Robbie
the Pankow
Graves.
brothers. The Mark Anderson, I think, is in that.
What are the
server Discord.
Basement Boys?
They're like their server Discord. It's like a group text basically that they're all in.
And they
And
money?
gave us a little cash to say their name a bunch, and
Pankow.
they jump in and
Pankow.
out and comment on stuff. So yeah, it's been cool.
Wow.
Nice.
I love all of you Basement Boys.
Yeah,
I know you
yeah.
all very well.
Yes. Yeah, you do know a lot of the Basement Boys. Yeah, absolutely. absolutely. The little pores are in it as well. Yeah.
All my friends.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for everyone's tuning in. Keep commenting, keep liking, keep subscribing. We really appreciate all that stuff. We wouldn't be able to be here if we didn't keep getting all this positive reinforcement. So thank you again. Bonfire Banter, signing out.
Bye. Thank you.
Great. Bonfire Banter. We want to give a special shout out to all of our sponsors. Since day one, York Furrier has been helping us out, supporting us on social media, gave us some fantastic hats. What could be better than that? Keep me warm all winter long around this fire. Since 1931, they've been a locally owned and operated purveyor of exceptional furs, fine outerwear, and unique accessories. Check them out in downtown Elmhurst on York Road. The finest fur establishment, furry, that you're going to find anywhere in Chicagoland area. That's where the stars are going when they're filming in Chicago. They're going to York Furrier. So check them out. Thanks again for all your support. More Brewing Company. Big thank you to them. They've been letting us try some of their amazing craft beers. They're out in Huntley is their main establishment with most of their brewing equipment on Automall Drive. You can also check them out in Villa Park on Villa. My new favorite beer is actually by them, Partially Cloudy. So thank you so much for turning me on to this one, and thanks for your support, More Brewing Company. If you're looking for unique craft beers and artfully crafted food, go check them out. Again, supporting local business is what this is all about right now. JPL Property Services, keeping us warm around the fire with that full face cord. Thank you so much to Jim for dropping that off. If you're looking for anything from landscaping to snow removal, look no further. Jim will get you taken care of. JPL Property Services. Check them out on Facebook. And lastly, Jay and Jill Create. That's our art director, Jay. Jay and Jill Create. Pretty much print you anything you want. T-shirts, mugs, ornaments, gifts, whatever you're looking for. If you're looking for something creative, give them a call. Jay and Jill Create. Check them out on Facebook as well. As always, thank you to all of our sponsors. And here's to us, hoping we can get a few more. Bonfire Banter. We'll see you soon.